Rain poured heavily on the cobblestone streets of New York's Lower East Side, casting a gray veil over the neon-lit storefronts. On a chilly November afternoon, two 6-year-old twin girls, Lila and Nora Jackson, stood huddled under a tattered tarp, clutching bundles of roses wrapped in old newspaper. The red blooms, slightly wilted from the weather, glowed like beacons of hope in their small, dirt-streaked hands. Shivering in their thin coats, the twins' eyes burned with determination. They had one mission: to save their mother. "Mom needs money for medicine and her cast," Lila whispered, her voice trembling as she brushed wet curls from her forehead. Nora nodded, her round eyes gleaming with resolve. "Just a few more bouquets, Lila. Mom will be okay." Their mother, Amara Jackson, had been a dedicated nurse at Family Hospital in Brooklyn for 12 years. 3 weeks ago, while fixing a ceiling light in their dilapidated apartment to save on repair costs, she fell from a rickety ladder, shattering her left arm. The injury, compounded by infection, required antibiotics and painkillers costing $250, a fortune for the Jacksons. Worse, Amara had been fired from the hospital for publicly questioning why black patients received weaker pain medication than white patients for identical procedures. Family Hospital, led by Chief Physician Eleanor Harris, labeled her a troublemaker and terminated her without severance or warning. Now, Amara lay in pain on a worn mattress in their cramped apartment, with her daughters as her only hope. Lila and Nora, though young, understood their dire situation. The roses they sold were the last valuable remnants of their family, flowers grown in pots on their tiny balcony, a passion of their late father, who died of a heart attack 2 years prior. "Selling flowers makes people smile," he used to say. Now, the twins carried his words, turning roses into a lifeline for their mother. Across the street, under a sleek black umbrella, Ethan Caldwell watched the girls. At 45, the CEO of Caldwell Innovations, a billion-dollar tech firm specializing in AI software, wore a $5,000 bespoke suit, yet his gaze was fixed on the twins' resilience. Something about their unwavering spirit stirred a long-buried part of him. "Sir, the car's waiting," his assistant, James Carter, said, glancing at his Patek Philippe watch. "The meeting with the Swiss investors starts in 15 minutes. We need to go." Ethan waved him off. "Eyes still on Lila and Nora." "Cancel it," he said, his voice firm. James blinked, stunned. "Sir, this is a $75 million deal." They flew in from Zurich. "I said cancel," Ethan repeated, stepping through puddles, his Italian leather shoes clicking on the wet pavement. Lila spotted him first, her eyes lighting up like stars in the gloom. She held up a bouquet, her voice soft but hopeful. "Sir, please buy some roses. Only $5. They're fresh, grown by our mom." Ethan crouched to meet her gaze. "Why are you selling flowers in the rain?" he asked, his tone gentle but curious. Nora, shyer than her sister, stepped forward, clutching Lila's hand for courage. "Our mom fell fixing a light. Her arm's broken, and we need money for medicine. If she doesn't get it," her voice broke, unable to finish. Ethan's chest tightened. He studied the roses in Lila's hands, imperfect, some petals fallen, but wrapped with the care of children pouring their hearts into every fold. "What's your mother's name?" he asked. "Amara Jackson," Lila replied. "She's the best nurse. She used to help people at Family Hospital, but they won't let her work there anymore." Ethan's brow furrowed, sensing something amiss. "Why not?" Lila hesitated, glancing at Nora, then whispered, "Mom said the hospital wasn't fair to people like us. She asked why, and they got mad." Ethan nodded, pulling out his wallet. He counted 10 $100 bills and handed them to Lila. The twins' eyes widened. "But the roses are only $5, Nora stammered, still clutching her bouquet. "To me, they're worth more," Ethan said, taking the roses from Lila's trembling hands. He felt the weight of their fear and hope. "Go buy medicine for your mom. Keep the other roses. They're beautiful." Lila and Nora hugged each other, tears mixing with rain on their faces. "Thank you, sir. Thank you," they chorused, clutching the money like a treasure before running toward the pharmacy down the street. Ethan stood still, holding the roses, a strange warmth spreading through him. James approached, clearly displeased. "Sir, the Swiss investors just emailed. They're furious. We might lose the deal." "Follow those girls," Ethan cut in, his voice sharp. "I want to know where they live, their family situation." "James, I need that information tonight." James blinked, confused. "Sir, why?" "They're just kids selling flowers." Ethan turned, his eyes like steel. "Because I have a feeling this story's just beginning. And I don't ignore feelings like this." While Lila and Nora ran through the rain, clutching hope for their mother, Ethan returned to his office at Caldwell Innovations' Midtown Manhattan tower. He placed the roses on his desk, their red petals stark against the polished ebony. A restlessness gnawed at him, not about the canceled deal, but something deeper. The twins' courage and love for their mother had awakened a compassion he thought long buried. James returned 3 hours later with a thin file. Amara Jackson, 33, nurse at Family Hospital for 12 years. 3 weeks ago, she fell fixing a light at home, breaking her left arm. But the bigger issue is why she was fired. James paused, glancing at Ethan. Amara was sacked for publicly questioning why black patients received weaker painkillers than white patients for the same procedures. Chief physician Eleanor Harris called it causing trouble and fired her on the spot. No severance, no warning. Ethan's fist clenched, his eyes darkening. Does she have proof? Amara documented everything, James said. Dates, patient names, dosages, protocols. She kept a detailed notebook for years. Ethan's gaze fell on the roses. And the girls. They attend Lincoln Elementary. Excellent grades, never missed a day until their mom got hurt. Their teacher says they're remarkable, always helping others, always smiling despite their hardships. Ethan nodded, a plan forming in his mind. Just then, his desk phone buzzed. Sophia Lee, Caldwell Innovations CFO and Ethan's friend since college, walked in without knocking, a privilege few had. Ethan, I need to talk about Family Hospital, she said, placing a tablet on his desk. They're desperate for a lead investor. They're on the brink of bankruptcy. But there's a rumor Grayson Health is preparing to buy them out cheap. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Grayson? The company investigated for racial discrimination in hiring. The same, Sophia confirmed. If Grayson takes over, they'll restructure everything. Hundreds of staff, especially people like Amara, will lose their jobs. And their policies, let's just say they won't prioritize diversity. Ethan's smile was not the warm one he used in boardrooms, but something sharper, more dangerous. Sophia, prepare a full report on Family Hospital's finances in 2 hours. James, clear my schedule for tomorrow. Sophia eyed him curiously. Ethan, what are you planning? Doing the right thing, Ethan replied, standing and gazing out at the city lights glinting through the rain. And maybe teaching a few people about the consequences of underestimating others. The rain had stopped, but a chill lingered over the Lower East Side. Lila and Nora, clutching the $1,000 from Ethan Caldwell, raced to the nearest pharmacy to buy antibiotics and painkillers for their mother. Their remaining roses were tucked safely in Lila's worn backpack, a symbol of the hope they clung to. Meanwhile, in their cramped fifth-floor apartment in a dilapidated building, Amara Jackson lay motionless on a sagging mattress, her left arm in a makeshift cast, her face pale from fever. The pain wasn't just from her injury, it was the sting of betrayal from Family Hospital, where she'd devoted 12 years, only to be denied treatment. 2 days earlier, Lila and Nora had helped their mother to Family Hospital's ER. A doctor, once Amara's colleague, dismissed them coldly. No insurance, no cash, no treatment. When Amara pleaded, citing her years of service, Eleanor Harris appeared, her eyes like ice. You're no longer staff, Amara. If you cause trouble, we'll call security. Lila, clinging to her mother, still heard Amara's trembling voice. I just need medicine. You know I have nothing. But the hospital doors slammed shut, leaving them in the rain. In his office at Caldwell Innovations, Ethan sat pensive, the twins' roses on his desk like a silent challenge. Sophia's report on Family Hospital painted a grim picture: $12 million in debt, lawsuits over discrimination, and a desperate board. What caught Ethan's attention was Grayson Health, a medical conglomerate eyeing a cheap takeover. Sophia noted Grayson's history of discriminatory hiring and cost-cutting by limiting care for uninsured patients, like Amara. James, Ethan said, his voice low but sharp. I want to meet Amara Jackson. Today. James, still rattled by the canceled Swiss investor meeting, hesitated. Sir, which hospital is she in? Should we call ahead? No need, Ethan replied, picking up the roses. I know where they live, and I'm betting she's not in any hospital. Ethan drove to the twins' rundown building, climbing the dark, moldy staircase to the 5th floor. When he knocked, Lila opened the door, her eyes lighting up. Sir, what are you doing here? She exclaimed, pulling Nora to her side. I want to see your mom, Ethan said, smiling softly. But stepping into the apartment, his anger flared. The room was dim, reeking of medicine and despair. Amara lay on the bed, her arm in a crude cast, her face gaunt but struggling to sit up. She asked, voice weak. Ethan Caldwell, he said, placing the roses on a rickety table. I met Lila and Nora this morning. They told me about you. Amara's lips tightened, wary. I don't need pity, she said, though her voice shook with pain. I'm not here for pity, Ethan replied, sitting on a creaky chair. I want to know why Family Hospital refused to treat you after 12 years of service. Amara gave a bitter laugh, her eyes full of pain. They fired me for asking questions. Black and Latino patients always got weaker painkillers. I documented everything, dosages, names, dates. When I confronted Eleanor Harris, she said I was causing trouble and fired me. Ethan's anger surged. And now they won't treat you? Amara nodded. They said no insurance, no money, no care. But I know the truth. Eleanor doesn't want me there, reminding them of what I know. Lila and Nora, sitting by their mother, held hands, eyes wide with worry. Mom hurts a lot, Nora whispered. But they wouldn't let her in. Ethan stood, his gaze icy. Do you still have that notebook? Amara pointed to a drawer by the bed. In there. I documented everything. Ethan retrieved a worn notebook, filled with meticulous entries, dates, patient names, dosages, disparities. He flipped through pages, feeling their weight. Will you let me use this? He asked. Amara studied him, hesitant. What are you going to do? Do what should have been done long ago, Ethan said, his voice carrying a chilling resolve. Back at his office, Ethan summoned Sophia and James. He placed Amara's notebook beside the roses. Sophia, how's the family hospital report? Sophia slid her tablet toward him. They're on the verge of bankruptcy. Grayson Health offered $8 million to buy them out, but they plan to fire 60% of the staff and cut services for uninsured patients. If this deal goes through, people like Amara will never get care. Ethan shook his head, eyes darkening. Grayson thinks they can profit off a discriminatory system. He tapped the notebook. They're about to hit a wall. James spoke up. Sir, I dug into Eleanor Harris. Rumor is she's taking money from Grayson to push this deal. If it goes through, she gets a hefty commission. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Dirty money. She denies Amara treatment, fires her for speaking out, and now takes bribes. James, arrange a meeting with Family Hospital's board. Tomorrow. Sir, James said, Grayson sent a preliminary contract. They're pressuring the board to sign within 48 hours. Then we move faster, Ethan said, standing. Sophia, prepare a $15 million offer to buy the hospital, with conditions to retain all nurses and enforce fair treatment protocols. I want it ready by morning. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Ethan, that's a huge gamble. Grayson won't back down easily. Then they'll face me, Ethan said, clutching the roses. And I don't lose. That night, Ethan visited Family Hospital unannounced, finding Amara in a temporary ER room, finally receiving treatment after his call to a doctor friend. Lila and Nora sat by her, beaming when they saw him. You came again, Lila cried, hugging his leg. Amara, weak but smiling, said, Mr. Caldwell, I don't know how to thank you. They say I'll get surgery tomorrow. You deserve it, Ethan replied, handing her the roses. But we're not done. I'm meeting the board tomorrow, and I'll use your notebook. Amara nodded, eyes resolute. Do what you think is right. I trust you. As Ethan left, he got a text from James. Grayson knows you're involved. They sent a warning to the board, threatening lawsuits if the deal falls through. Ethan smiled coldly, pocketing his phone. The fight was just beginning, and he knew Grayson and Eleanor Harris wouldn't go quietly. But the twins' roses and Amara's courage gave him a reason to fight, not just for them, but for a fairer system. Spring sunlight streamed through the high windows of Family Hospital's boardroom, but the air inside was as cold as a winter's day. Ethan Caldwell sat at the head of the table, his gray suit exuding authority, his eyes unyielding. Before him lay Amara Jackson's notebook, open to a page detailing discriminatory treatment protocols. Across from him, the hospital's board, 6 members, led by Eleanor Harris, sat tense, hands clasped or tapping nervously. They didn't know why Ethan Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell Innovations, had called this emergency meeting, but whispers of his interference with the Grayson Health deal had set the room on edge. Outside, Lila and Nora Jackson waited in the hospital's lobby, holding hands, their eyes fixed on the hallway where their mother rested. Amara, post-surgery thanks to Ethan's intervention, lay in recovery, insisting on being near the meeting. Mom, will Mr. Caldwell help us? Nora whispered, clutching the roses Ethan had returned. Amara smiled weakly, stroking her daughter's hair. I believe he'll do what's right. Eleanor Harris, her blonde hair tightly pinned and gold-rimmed glasses gleaming, spoke first, her voice sharp but professional. Mr. Caldwell, we're honored to meet you, but this urgent meeting is unexpected. We're in negotiations with Grayson Health, and we're unclear on your involvement. Ethan smiled, a cold smile that made some board members shift uncomfortably. He tapped Amara's notebook. I'm here about a former employee, Amara Jackson, a dedicated nurse, 12 years at this hospital, fired for questioning unfair treatment protocols. Eleanor raised an eyebrow, maintaining composure. Amara Jackson was a disruptive employee. She made baseless accusations about our policies, undermining team morale. Baseless. Ethan repeated, his voice low but cutting. He flipped to a marked page. August 15, 2024. Patient James Carter, black, male, 45, hip replacement surgery. Morphine dosage, 5 milligrams every 6 hours. Same day, Robert Klein, white, male, 47, same procedure. Morphine, 10 milligrams every 6 hours. Both patients had similar weight and health profiles. He looked up, locking eyes with Eleanor. Explained the discrepancy. Silence enveloped the room. Dr. Thomas Reed, a board member, cleared his throat. Mr. Caldwell, there could be other clinical factors. We'd need to review specific records. Ethan slid the notebook toward him. Review it. There are 127 similar cases over 3 years, meticulously documented by Amara Jackson. Black and Latino patients consistently received 30 to 50% less pain medication than white patients for identical procedures. This isn't chance, Dr. Reed. It's systemic discrimination. Eleanor's hands tightened, her voice sharp. You're not a doctor. You don't understand the complexities of treatment protocols. Those notes could be fabricated or biased by a disgruntled employee. Ethan leaned forward, his gaze piercing. Really? Then explain this. He plugged a USB drive into the room's projector. An audio clip played, Eleanor's voice clear. Amara, you're causing unnecessary tension. Some patients are simply more pain-sensitive. It's biology, not discrimination. Amara's voice, trembling but firm, replied, You know that's not true. I have data, names, dosages. You can't keep doing this. The recording stopped, leaving a deafening silence. Ethan scanned the table, his eyes lingering on each face. This recording, legal under New York law since Amara consented, is one of many. Care to elaborate on biology, Ms. Harris? Eleanor paled but pressed on. This is a personal attack. I've spent 25 years building this hospital. You can't waltz in and dismantle everything with baseless claims. Ethan stood, his voice calm but commanding. I'm not waltzing in. I've bought this hospital. He slid a thick document across the table. This morning, Caldwell Innovations finalized the acquisition of Family Hospital for $15 million, outbidding Grayson Health's $8 million offer. The deal is signed. I'm the new owner. The room erupted. Dr. Reed leapt up, voice shaking. You can't do this. Grayson had a preliminary contract. Grayson withdrew this morning, Ethan said coolly. After I sent them copies of this notebook and the recordings. They realized a hospital with a history of systemic discrimination isn't a safe investment, especially after I contacted the press and the New York State Health Commission. Eleanor nearly shouted, This is a conspiracy. You have no right to fire me or anyone on this board. Ethan's smile was that of a man holding all the cards. I don't just have the right, Ms. Harris. I have the duty. Family Hospital is now part of the Caldwell Foundation for Equitable Healthcare. My first act is to fire leaders who enabled or promoted discriminatory policies. While Ethan faced the board, a darker plot unfolded. That morning, Eleanor had secretly instructed a security guard, Carl, to search Amara's recovery room for her notebook or any incriminating evidence tying Eleanor to Grayson Health. But Lila and Nora, sharpened by years of hardship, sensed trouble. As Carl, a tall man with shifty eyes, entered the room, Lila whispered to Nora, I don't like him. He's looking for something. Nora, clutching the roses, slipped into the hallway and called Ethan using the number he'd left. Mr. Caldwell, someone's searching Mom's stuff, she whispered, her voice trembling but resolute. Ethan, mid-meeting, glanced at his phone and saw Nora's call. Excusing himself, he listened to her frantic words. Stay calm, Nora. Keep your mom safe. I'm coming. He called Sophia, ordering Caldwell Innovations' security team to the hospital immediately. When Ethan and the team reached the recovery room, they caught Carl rifling through a drawer by Amara's bed. Ethan stepped in, his voice icy. Looking for something, friend? Carl flinched, dropping papers. I, I was just checking equipment, he stammered, his panicked eyes betraying him. Amara, weak but alert, sat up. He works for Eleanor. I know him. He used to watch me when I worked here. Ethan signaled his team to escort Carl out. Turning to Amara, he softened. You're safe now. And I promise, people like Eleanor won't hurt you again. Post-meeting, Ethan announced sweeping changes at Family Hospital. He appointed Amara Jackson as Director of Nursing, a new role to oversee fair treatment protocols and ensure no patient faced discrimination. Amara, still recovering, stood before the hospital staff, notebook in hand, and said, I lost my job for speaking out. Today, I return to build a place where every patient is treated as human, no matter who they are. Lila and Nora, by her side, clapped wildly. Lila ran to Ethan, whispering, Thank you for giving Mom a chance. Nora, holding the roses, added, And for keeping our flowers. Ethan knelt, smiling. You taught me something. Sometimes, small things like roses can change the world. Eleanor Harris was fired immediately, along with 2 other board members linked to discriminatory policies. Investigations by the New York State Health Commission, spurred by Amara's evidence, destroyed Eleanor's reputation. Grayson Health, facing public and legal pressure, abandoned their New York ventures, leaving room for Ethan's reforms. 6 months later, Family Hospital was unrecognizable, a model of equitable care. Amara led cultural sensitivity training and fair treatment protocols. Lila and Nora returned to school, their backpacks new, their smiles bright, carrying roses to share hope. Ethan, now a regular hospital visitor, kept the twins' roses on his desk, a reminder that a simple act, buying flowers in the rain, could spark a revolution. For Amara, Lila, and Nora, those roses didn't just save their mother. They rebuilt a system where justice triumphed over inequity. Spring 2026 painted New York's Lower East Side with vibrant warmth, a stark contrast to the rainy November day that had changed everything. The streets, once cloaked in gray, now shimmered under sunlight, and Family Hospital, once a place of injustice, stood as a beacon of hope. Its bright, clean corridors echoed with the laughter of patients and the quiet dedication of nurses led by Amara Jackson, the newly appointed Director of Nursing. Lila and Nora, now 7 years old, skipped through the wards, their arms full of fresh roses from their balcony garden, handing them out to patients as tokens of kindness and resilience. Amara sat in her modest office at the hospital, her healed arm a testament to her recovery. On her desk was a framed photo of her and her daughters, taken the day she became director, and beside it, the dried bouquet of roses Lila and Nora had tried to sell that fateful day, the roses that brought Ethan Caldwell into their lives. Today, Amara held a pen and paper, her heart heavy with gratitude. She wanted to write a letter to Ethan, the man who had not only saved her family but also reshaped an entire system. Words felt inadequate for the magnitude of his impact, yet she knew she had to try. Amara's letter. Amara took a deep breath, steadying her hand, and began to write. Dear Mr. Caldwell, my name is Amara Jackson, though I'm certain you know that by now. I've spent weeks thinking about how to write this letter, struggling to find words that could capture the gratitude my daughters, Lila and Nora, and I feel for you. But words fall short of what you've done, so I hope you'll accept my attempt to express what lives in our hearts. That cold, rainy day in the Lower East Side, when Lila and Nora stood on the sidewalk with their roses, I believed our hope had run dry. My arm was broken, we couldn't afford medicine, and Family Hospital, where I gave 12 years of my life, turned me away. They fired me for daring to question why Black patients like me and my girls received less care, less pain relief, less dignity. I felt I had failed, not just as a nurse, but as a mother. Then you came along. You didn't just buy my daughters roses for far more than their worth. You saw us, truly saw us, when the world had looked away. You ensured I received treatment, but more than that, you took my notebook, those pages I thought were mere whispers in the dark, and used them to challenge an entire system. You bought Family Hospital, removed those like Eleanor Harris who perpetuated injustice, and gave me the chance not only to return, but to lead a transformation. I'll never forget the moment Lila and Nora ran to you in the boardroom, when you handed back their roses and said they belonged to them. My girls call you their hero, and I agree, But you are more than that. You showed me that kindness, when backed by strength and resolve, can move mountains. Because of you, Family Hospital is now a place where every patient, no matter their race or circumstances, is treated with the respect they deserve. I see it every day, in the smiles of patients once overlooked, in the pride of nurses following the fair protocols we've built together. Lila and Nora go to school with new backpacks, no longer fearing whether their mother will survive the day. They bring roses to the hospital, sharing hope with others, just as you shared hope with us. You've changed me in ways I can't fully express. I was afraid that speaking out would cost me everything. But you showed me that truth, no matter how small, has power when it finds someone willing to listen. You didn't just save my family, you restored my faith in justice. From the depths of my heart, my daughters, and I thank you. Lila and Nora insist I add that if you ever need roses, they'll always have a bouquet for you. Free, of course. And I, as a nurse and a mother, promise to carry forward the work you began, ensuring no one is left behind. With deepest gratitude, Amara Jackson.